Did you know Johnny Depp doesn't even think of himself as a movie star? That's not just something he says to sound humble, he really believes it. And that might surprise you, right? Because for most of us, Johnny Depp is one of the biggest names in Hollywood. You hear his name and instantly think of him as this iconic figure. But in his own mind, he's never seen himself that way. He's said before that he sees himself as more of a character actor who just somehow ended up in the spotlight. And honestly, that kind of makes sense when you think about it. He's never really played the typical leading man. He's never been the kind of actor who just plays himself in every role. Instead, every character he plays feels like its own living, breathing person, with a whole world of their own. When you think of him, you probably picture Captain Jack Sparrow first. You can almost see him right now. Staggering across the deck of the Black Pearl, eyes half closed, mumbling something about rum with that mischievous little grin on his face. Or maybe you see Grindelwald, with his icy stare and calm, eerie presence, weaving his dark magic and making you feel uneasy with just a look. Those two characters could not be more different. And yet, somehow, Johnny makes both of them feel completely real. Like they've always existed. Like they're more than just lines on a script. And that's really the magic of Johnny Depp's acting style. It's not just quirky or weird for the sake of being weird, though it might seem that way at first. It's actually a very deliberate craft. A process. And once you start to understand it, you'll notice just how much thought and care goes into every little detail of his performances. Today, we're going to walk through exactly how he does it, step by step. We're going to break down what makes him so compelling to watch and how he's able to transform so completely from one character to another. And don't worry, you don't need to be some kind of movie expert or theater nerd to follow along. This is just going to feel like we're sitting together, chatting about movies over coffee. I'll keep it light, fun, and full of little details you might have never noticed before but won't be able to unsee next time you watch him. So let's start at the heart of it, the way Johnny approaches his roles. This is where he really stands out from so many other actors. He doesn't just play a character. He becomes them. He builds them from the ground up, like he's creating a real person. For him, each one is its own unique individual, with their own voice, their own way of walking, their own little habits and backstory. Even if that backstory never actually makes it into the movie, he imagines it all anyway. Because for him, those invisible layers are what give his characters depth and make them feel alive. Think about Jack Sparrow for a second. That drunken sway he has. The way he stumbles around, arms flapping like he's trying to stay balanced, almost singing his lines. None of that was written in the script. Johnny came up with all of that himself. He thought to himself, okay, what would a pirate really be like? Pirates spend their lives drinking, fighting, being thrown around by storms at sea. Of course they'd move like they could barely stand up straight. But then he added another layer to it. He thought Jack should also feel like a washed-up rock star, someone who was once cool and maybe still thinks he is, but who's definitely seen better days. And just like that, one of the most iconic and beloved characters in movie history was born. And now jump forward to Grindelwald. Completely different, right? Gone is the goofy charm, the clumsy swagger. Instead, you get this unsettling calm. This quiet confidence. A kind of stillness that somehow makes him even scarier. Watch his eyes in those scenes. He doesn't glance around nervously or fidget. He holds his gaze, steady and piercing, like he already knows what you're going to say before you say it. That kind of presence doesn't happen by accident. Johnny has said that he believes the eyes are the most important part of any character. So he spends hours in front of the mirror, figuring out exactly how each character would look at the world. How they'd watch someone walk into a room. How they'd react when they're angry or amused. And you can see all that thought come through in the way Grindelwald stares someone down, like he's looking straight through them. And Johnny doesn't stop there. He actually creates full backstories for his characters, even if no one ever asks him to. He imagined Jack Sparrow's entire childhood, who he loved, who broke his heart, what kind of trouble he got into before he ever set foot on the Black Pearl. None of that ever shows up on screen, but you can feel it in the little smirks, the knowing glances, the way Jack reacts to certain situations like he's been there before. For Grindelwald, Johnny imagined him as someone who genuinely believed he was saving the world, someone who thought his actions, no matter how cruel, were ultimately justified. And that's what makes Grindelwald feel more human, and therefore more terrifying, because he doesn't see himself as a villain. Here's something most people miss about Johnny's style: he never plays the same rhythm twice. In one scene, he might pause for a long time, dragging out his words, letting the tension build. And then, all of a sudden, he'll snap into action without warning. That unpredictability keeps you watching because you never quite know what he's going to do next. And that's what makes his performances so hypnotic. Another little trick he uses: props. Johnny loves adding little details with props that help bring his characters to life. For Jack, it was all those rings on his fingers, the beads and trinkets in his hair. Those weren't just costume pieces to him. He'd actually fiddle with them in scenes, like they were important to Jack, like they carried memories or stories. For Grindelwald, it was his hands. Johnny decided Grindelwald's fingers would twitch ever so slightly when he was angry or impatient. And when he touched someone, it would be deliberate, cold, unsettling. Tiny little details like that, things you might not even consciously notice, stick with you and make his characters feel more real. Now, there's a common myth about him that a lot of people believe, that Johnny just shows up on set and improvises everything. And sure, he does like to improvise once he's in character. But the truth is, he actually works obsessively before filming even starts. He spends weeks experimenting, practicing, figuring things out. Then, when the cameras roll, he trusts all that preparation enough to let the character take over and surprise even himself. That balance between careful planning and spontaneous creativity is what makes his work feel so alive. And if you really want to see how much thought he puts into his performances, just listen to the way his characters talk. Jack Sparrow's voice is slurred, sing-songy, almost musical, like he's telling a story even when he's just talking. But Grindelwald's voice? Crisp. Low. Measured. Every word feels deliberate, like it was chosen carefully. Johnny spends weeks studying different accents and speech patterns, practicing them over and over until they feel natural. And that's why each of his characters sounds completely unique. If you're an aspiring actor, or even just someone who loves creative work, here's something you can learn from Johnny. He said many times that he'd rather fail spectacularly than play it safe. And you can see that philosophy in every role he takes. He's not afraid to make bold, strange choices, even if they don't always work out perfectly. And that willingness to take risks is what makes his performances so memorable. Now, before we wrap up, here's something fun to watch for the next time you see one of his movies. Pay attention to his rhythm, how he moves through a scene. Notice how he uses silence just as effectively as words. Watch his eyes, his hands, the little quirks and habits he adds. Those are the things that turn a good performance into a great one. So now that you know how he does it, what's your favorite Johnny Depp character? Is it Jack Sparrow with his chaotic charm? Or Grindelwald with that quiet menace? Or maybe someone else entirely? I'd really love to hear what you think, so go ahead and leave your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed exploring Johnny's acting secrets with me today, you're going to love our next deep dive on how Heath Ledger completely disappeared into the Joker. That one is full of even more fascinating details about what it takes to fully embody a character. Oh, and hey, if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps more people find the channel. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a thing. Every little bit of support helps keep this community growing, and I can't thank you enough for being a part of it. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Next time you watch Johnny Depp on screen, I hope you'll notice all those little choices he makes, the eyes, the rhythm, the props, the silences, and see just how much thought and craft goes into every single moment. That's the beauty of his work. It's not just acting. It's storytelling, in its purest form. See you in the next one.